So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. Today is Thursday, May the 27th, 2021, and our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you in the queue to talk to us. And we'd love to hear your comments and questions because it makes it your show. Sounds like Dr. Tim didn't have anybody raise their hand, and he did an hour monologue. That is really challenging. Thank you, Dr. Tim, for being there. But the show is here to support you, to answer your questions, to offer you support in doing your work. And you always direct the show in the direction that it needs to go and in the way that it will help not just you, but it helps someone else always. And so we appreciate you calling in. The website is getting ready to go live with the new format. So if you try to click on it right now, it's going to tell you that there's an error. Just give it a few moments, and we're getting ready to switch it over. So I know there's still a lot of things that need to be corrected and added and fixed, but going live because I'm also working with India and getting the apps redone so that they will work properly. And so I need to make sure that the links that are in the app go to the right place on the new website. So we're kind of doing a couple of things simultaneously. So give us a little bit of patience if something's not working quite right. And after a little bit, please, make a list of things that you come across, this link needs to be fixed or that's not working or whatever, and drop me an email at Jeanie, JEANIE, at whyagain.org, and let me know what URL you went to, what address, what page you hit that wasn't operating just right or that didn't lay out right. And send it to me, and we will eventually get all of the glitches worked out. And I'm excited about the new website coming up. Michael's got some things happening on the horizon while I'm waiting on him to dial in. This coming Sunday, he will be doing a service called Coin of the Realm in Unity of Blue Water again. And then on Father's Day, he's going to be doing in Columbus, Ohio, Unity Church there, Healing, Honoring, Cherishing Fathers. So those are two things that are coming up. This is really pretty cool that he can be at these different churches on Sunday and do their service, and yet he's sitting in his office here in Bristol, Virginia. So we're thankful for technology and that there are churches that are reaching out to Michael to fill in for him, and we appreciate that. Welcome, Michael. I was just filling in time.
Yeah, life is so much easier. Not having to get in the car and drive for hours and hours and unload and reload, drive for hours and hours. Definitely. Makes life easier. So welcome, everybody. Delighted that you're here to extend this conversation into the understanding of the first century Aramaic process of forgiveness. And we'll just go right into the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And what you can do about it. For those who are following along with us, we're on page 74 in the chapter entitled Off the Mark, chapter 13. We're almost halfway through the book. Good timing at the end of May. That'll just take us through December to finish the balance of it. And so we've been talking to Richard about this idea of being off the mark. I was listening to just happened to sit down in front of the television set my father-in-law was watching, and they had some Greek theologians on, and it was interesting how the conversation was pointed toward how men just didn't know and just didn't understand. And they were talking about the topic of this chapter, sin. And one of the young men made the point that the whole idea of sin, and these are the people who do understand, the whole idea of sin in the original Greek tied in with guilt. and I wanted to reach through the TV and take hold of his microphone and say, well, actually, let's talk about the actual original, the Aramaic thought structure, the Aramaic perspective on this whole idea, and realize that there's nothing whatsoever to do with guilt involved in this word sin. In the language where Yeshua taught it, and you're not talking about Yeshua here, you're talking about Greek theology. And, one of my favorite tongue-in-cheek lines is, if Yeshua sat in most churches and listened to these Greek theologians, he'd say, that's all Greek to me. And the Greek is such a, you've perhaps seen the movie Lost in Translation. Well, so much has been lost in translation. So this idea of sin in Aramaic it's simply an archery term. It's interesting, over the years of putting that out, the last 50 years of teaching this work, probably one of the most celebrated ideas that people have taken hold of is, and you can almost watch the breath that people take when they go, oh, it doesn't mean I'm guilty. And so we're having that conversation with Richard, the character in the book. If you don't have a copy of the book, it is out of print. However, you can go to Amazon or to eBay, and you'll find several dozen copies on each site, fairly inexpensively. So the book is still available, a printed copy. And if you wish, you can also go to WHYAGAIN.org, and the book's there for free download. So you can just download it, print it yourself, or read it on your phone or your computer or whatever. So we've been talking to Richard about this idea of sin being off the mark, and that this human energy system we call the body-mind unit was made for love. And when one engages in an energy that is unlike love, they violated the integrity of their energy system. It's not that they've done something to offend this thin-skinned creator that the Greeks, if you look at the ideas that the Greeks have about creators, their gods, there are some pretty bizarre and thin-skinned folks in that group. And so that's projected onto the creator, as Yeshua spoke about, whose name was love. And thin skin doesn't exist in love. It's just it's a silly idea. And that, when they talk about, this idea often comes forward, that God can't know about sin. Well, what they're saying is love doesn't move outside of love. Like there's no energy possible in the Creator's state of existence than that of active present love. We humans engage in other energies and find ourselves in difficulty. And yes, there is definitely what the world calls, or what appears to be, punishment involved, but it's nothing to do with the Creator's angry with me and going to get me because I engaged in something less than love. If I engage in something less than love and put it into my energy system, I'm going to suffer. I'm going to suffer because of my own volition, my own action. I put in an energy that doesn't belong, and my energy system is going to respond with an ouch, that hurts, that doesn't belong here. It's not the idea of being punished by a creator, nor is it that of being forgiven or let off the hook. Another false Greek idea that forgiveness is about letting somebody off the hook or being let off the hook for what we've done. So it's nothing to do with, in that sense, being forgiven, but that the removal of the offending energy that is creating the suffering, if we choose to engage in the process of doing that, we can remove that offending energy, remove the the thorn, so to speak, in our side and remove pain. But it's in no way, shape, or form that some creator judged you and now has to forgive you. It's just, it's just all falsehood within the context of the original Aramaic. So we're on to page 74 in this section on love. Richard makes the comment that, well, that certainly puts things in a different light. And I offer yes. And it's also interesting to see that the Aramaic understanding of life is reinforced and proven by the latest in physics. If we could ask Albert Einstein about the world we call physical, he would tell us it does not exist. He would tell us that matter is energy that appears as a solid. The Aramaic scriptures refer to the world of appearances, cautioning not to judge by them. If we think the world is physical, we have judged by an appearance, its appearance, not the fact of what it is. Is it possible that the world of energy, void of solid form and organized by the mind into the appearance of form? If all is energy, the body, in Aramaic, the temple, is energy. Recall that relative to every energy system, there are basically two qualities of energy: that which builds the system up, integrative, or what was called lawful energy, and that which burdens or tears the system down, disintegrative or unlawful energy. I forget who it was that one of the ancient theologians said, we are punished by our sins, not for our sins. And of course, again, there's no punishment involved. It's, if anything, it's self-punishment. I engage in energy that's off the mark. My system says, ouch, I've done that to myself. I refrain from or I remove that offending energy, and forgiveness has occurred. So in response to that idea of disintegrative or unlawful energy, Richard grins. So, sin doesn't refer to me as a person. If it is just information, it's just information, just feedback. If someone of integrity told me I had sinned, he would simply be informing me of an error. Yes, in the ancient Aramaic, if someone did not understand the intricacies of the human energy system, that person might go to a specialist for advice. That specialist would point out one's violations of the laws of the human energy system by calling them sins rather than condemning us, and invite healing. Richard says, this still feels like the old guilt trip. Or how do you say it, Michael? The reality of guilt is surfacing in my mind again. And so here we catch Richard now. He's building brain cells and starting to shift his thinking out of the projection and blame game and starting to realize that the output of his mind is what creates his realities. And so we're moving in the direction of building brain cells and reaching a whole new level of understanding of the tools. And of course, we've been carrying on this conversation for the last 10 years in order that anyone and everyone can engage in building the brain cells for living truly as a human being, living truly as the active presence of love. And if they or ancestors have engaged in something that is less than love, removing those energetic patterns, actually stepping into forgiveness rather than Greek pardoning and pretending that if I let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me, then I have forgiven. So new brain cells. Forgiveness has nothing to do with I'm going to let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. Forgiveness is if I have something, some untoward energy moving inside of me, and I understand and apply the tool of forgiveness, then I am in the process of removing the energy that's creating turmoil or pain and removing my so-called sin. So we're here to develop that understanding and recognize how this tool of forgiveness works. And if you haven't touched into it yet, please go to our website, whyagain.org. In the upper left-hand corner of the page, click the button that says Start Here. That's going to walk you through some of the most profound understandings about human life that have ever happened on the earth. There are at least 20 radio shows in the archives where either myself or Jeannie or Dr. Tim have walked somebody through the forgiveness process. Each of those shows has a different wrinkle, so to speak, a different question, a different perspective, live, real, honest-to-God people engaging in the forgiveness process. So by the time you've listened to those 20 hours of radio shows, you've gotten a really deep tutorial on first century Aramaic forgiveness. And it makes for a profound restructuring of the mind to engage in that. And what we're looking to do is to literally restructure the mind and to remove the energetic brainwash based in hostility and fear, the belief in an angry creator, and stepping into recognizing who we are as human beings. And if you've ever held a newborn child, you know exactly what a human being is. Conscious, active, present love. Hold the newborn. Tap into the essence of the newborn and notice the newborn isn't loving you, the newborn is love. That is your and my true nature. If I engage in something other than that, I am engaging in sin. And wherever I put that energy, I'm going to create deterioration of my energy system. And people will look at that and call that punishment. When I'm in pain, pain is simply a reflection, a quality of energy that doesn't belong in my system. It's my it's like a built-in warning system that tells us when I'm off the mark. And yet, I can live in denial. Remember our definition of denial. Whenever I think or speak as though somebody or something outside of me is the cause of what's happening inside of me, I'm living in denial and in that state. In order to believe the lie that somebody else is the cause of what's moving in me, I have to hide the cause of what's moving in me. We call that dissociation. So when I deny something, I dissociate from its cause. I hide it deep within me. You know, the one place that I'm always going to get to come back and look again. I was talking to a young man this morning. I haven't talked to him in about probably 6 or 7 years. And he and his family did some pretty intense forgiveness work with us several years ago. And he's just circling back around and starting to dig out his forgiveness materials again. You know, it's kind of in a place where, well, you know, I got life handled, going to go off and do that. And the upshot of our conversation was, isn't it amazing how life is custom designed to kick us in the limitation? And if we want to ignore what our work is, life will send us someone. Life will present us with circumstances that will resonate those things that we need to deal with over and over and over again. Particularly true when you have children. One of my favorite tongue-in-cheek lines about children is that having children is like having your unconscious mind hanging out in true living color and Dolby sound. Everything you've never dealt with, they're going to bring up because they're made out of the same genetic material as you are, and there's no stop button wired into their minds. Punishment was invented. If you ever find yourself wanting to punish, notice that what you're trying to do is stop someone from doing something that you have pain about. Punishment comes from denial, dissociation, and projection. I have no pain in here. Look what you've done, and now what you've done has caused all this pain inside of me. Look at how you're making me suffer. In order to believe that baloney, I have to hallucinate a whole fake world where you have the power. I mean, it's so ludicrous. We'll hear people, yeah, I talked to him on the phone the other day, and man, he made me so mad. It's like, okay, let me see now. He was where? Oh, he was over in Timbuktu. So somebody with a little black instrument in his hand over in Timbuktu spoke into that little black instrument. That little black instrument sent a signal to a radio tower. That tower picked up that signal, radiated all the way to the tower just down the road from you. That tower down the road from you set up a signal that was picked up by the little black device in your hand, and that device reached inside of you, took that person's hand who's in Timbuktu and reached inside of you and caused you pain. I mean, how silly can we get? But the beauty, when you come out of your denial, is you realize that your pain is a result of an energy that you're holding to. It takes great wisdom to start to understand that and to engage in a different process. So that's what we're here to do, is to support you. And, of course, to learn on deeper and deeper levels ourselves how to engage in that deeper process and how to be the space of conscious, active, present love with and for each other so that we can process through those energetic patterns based in hostility and fear. And you remember, a couple of weeks ago now, we were talking about that section of processing and going unconscious, and that we define processing in this work as the ability to hold love, conscious, active, and present, when something less than love comes up. And when you do that, the underlying dissociated content that needs healing begins to move. The healing process begins to happen. The artificial state of unconsciousness is shifted out of, and literally a transmutation of energy occurs, a change in the form of the energy that we're holding on to. So we're honored that you're here to lend a pair of ears to this process. And if you're out there in listener land and we can support you in any way, if you have a question or a thought for us, our call-in number, if you happen to be on one of those stations where we can't see you, is 563-999-3581. 563-999-3581. If you're on one of those stations where we have no way to connect with you through our control panel, of course, you can't talk to us. But if you call that number, you'll be listening to the show on your phone. And then if you push 1, that will raise a hand in the control panel, and Jeannie will introduce you by your area code. So, Miss Jeannie, do we have anybody out there from listener land with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
No, it is all quiet. So I think Dr. Tim ended up doing an hour monologue, so hopefully the second hour won't be that way. So ask your questions. That's why we're here.
So how can we support you? What's on your mind out there in listener land? Push 1. Let's have a conversation about it. What I've just spoken about on sin, how huge an issue that is on planet Earth. Certainly, that's aroused questions in more than one person who's listening. And, you may feel like, oh, I don't know enough about this work to ask the right questions. Whatever your question is, it's the right question. Quite often, the most basic question leads some of the most advanced students of this work into exactly what they need to look at and exactly what they need to deal with. So if I were in your hometown and I just finished presenting this monologue on sin, energy being off the mark, and that guilt is not a component of such a thing, except by those who project their own unresolved guilt and have to talk about what they haven't dealt with. It's a great idea that Paul comes up with. He says, "Beware you who judge another, for that in which you judge another, you have been guilty of practicing." So take a look at what you're pointing the finger at somebody else for, and then take a look at your advice to them. And I mean it seriously. Even if you're at the very top of the food chain of doing this work, you got some advice for somebody else, take it yourself. Watch what happens. Your mind will heal. It's an interesting process. And so come join us. Push 1. Let's have a conversation. 563-999-3581. So I'm walking down off the platform in your hometown. I've just finished talking about sin. Well, what would you walk over? You walk over and say, Michael, what about? What would that question be? So this is the space to ask that question in. Whatever the question happens to be, and if your voice is a little bit shaky, can you make that okay? Sometimes people won't push 1 because like, well, I'd be on the radio and my voice would be shaky, and it's like, can you make it okay for your voice to be shaky and just go ahead and ask your question? Let's have a conversation. 563-999-3581 is our calling number. How can we support you? Any thoughts for you, Jeannie?
Well, I don't have anything except to say that I finally finished all of the MP4s and got them uploaded to Vimeo. They're actually just audios, but I had to put them in MP4 format in order for Vimeo to take them because they only take videos. And so you can order those now in our catalog, MP4 catalog. And like I said, if you click on something on the website and you get an error message, just give it a moment and try again later, because we are in the process today of going live with the new site. And
that's
so
exciting. I hadn't heard that. Yay.
Yeah. Well, the people in India that are working on the app, they have links, like to the commitments and to the Rose and the Butterfly story and the PowerPoint and all of those things. So I need to make sure they have the right links to the new website. They shouldn't have changed, but they may have. And so I need to make sure that those links are accurate so that they can finish working on the app. So it's kind of like dominoes. So it's like you got to do one to get the other. And so the new site's still going to have a lot of things that have to be fixed and worked on, but I think if we can, we're just going to go ahead and go live and then fix it as we go, and that way I can get the app going as well.
Cool.
So lots of things happening. And this weekend is mine and Michael's anniversary.
Yay.
So that's exciting.
What a blessing.
Met in the end of 2003. And
thank you to eharmony.com.
Yeah, and then
sure worked for us.
You proposed in 2004, and we got married in 2005. So we've actually been together 18 years, almost 18 years. But Married for
Proposed
16.
in front of the Ducks.
Yes. We were in Memphis. Went to Peabody's.
Peabody Hotel. If you've never been to Memphis, or if you get to Memphis, go to the Peabody Hotel early in the morning, and then around, I think, 4:35 in the afternoon, they have a man in a top hat and I guess it's a butler suit type of thing, and the doors open. You'll see hundreds of people gathering in the lobby, and in the morning the doors open and the Ducks walk out of the elevator. The concierge rolls out a red carpet, and the Ducks walk across the red carpet and get in the fountain and spend the day there. 4 or 5 o'clock, they reverse the procedure. They have pens up on the roof, and that's the home for these Ducks. It's kind of an interesting story. I guess the fellow who owned the Peabody originally, way back when, liked to hunt, and I guess he and his buddies liked to drink too. And so the story goes that he got drunk, and when he woke up in the morning, they had captured a number of ducks and put them in the pond inside of the lobby of the hotel, and it stirred such a lot of interest, I guess, in Memphis, that they created this whole ritual that they do, and hundreds of people gather to watch the ducks, waddle down and across the red carpet to the pond, and then waddle back upstairs, back into the elevator to be taken back upstairs. And they have, their own custom-made home up there, for well cared for and well fed. There's actually a Peabody in Orlando too, where they do the same thing. So that was kind of a fun way to propose.
Yeah. So soon as the ducks got in the pond and people started dispersing, then Michael got down on his knee and proposed. So that was awesome.
Yes.
And it was Memorial Weekend, so it's always Memorial Weekend that we, and so then a year later we got married on Memorial Weekend.
Yes.
So, and we have a handout.
And that's still just one more little component of that story. It's kind of fun because I had met Jeannie, and she didn't know anything about this work, and we started to talk about it, and then at the point where I was considering proposing, I said, you really serious? Like, you really feel like you can do this, want to do this work? And she's like, oh yeah. I said, well, and we set up, 2 weeks, sweetie? She's got holidays for a couple of weeks, and I said, okay, well, let's see if you're really serious. We went on the road, and we did, I don't even remember how many workshops, but we really pushed it. We had a busy time. We went to Birmingham. I don't remember where all we went, but we ended up in Memphis, and she said, yep, I'm ready to do this. And so that's when we set up the proposal at the Peabody. So what fun. And I have every year been in such gratitude for your presence in my life in every way, shape, or form. So even when on the odd occasion, honey, you've given me opportunities to learn forgiveness, I appreciated it.
Well, I'll remind you of that next time.
What fun.
All right.
So let's say hello to the hand.
I believe that it is Magda, 828. You're on the air.
Hey there, Miss Magdalena. How are you, young lady? Have you got your mute button pushed, Magda?
While she's unmuting, those that are in the intensive, Magda and Chuck are going to do a follow-up of the communication on June the 6th. So we're looking forward to that extra class.
And believe it or not, I am.
Believe it or not, you are which?
I am also looking forward to it.
All right.
I know you and I have talked several times, and my energy's been kind of down. And, I've put it off and I've put it off. The it that I have put off is to listen and watch the video again and really learn some things from it. So I finally decided, okay, I'm going to go a little deeper, because when I listened before, I was doing something else. How about that? And this time I sat down with pen and paper and took notes, and I believe I will probably go through it again. And so that's why I wanted to call today. First of all, I guess when we started doing the responsibility communication in the class, I was in the other room, and Jeannie asked if I could move into the same room with Chuck to be on the same screen. So I believe that I missed your introduction and your review. And I really listened to it last night, and it made so much more deep sense to me than it ever has before, having gone through this process with you all. And so I have a number of notes, and one in particular that I shared them with Chuck this morning, because I was doing this in the middle of the night. And
right.
One that we had a conversation about was where I said I felt discounted because I was ignored, and you rephrased that to my mind was telling me that I was ignored, and I really, really see the difference. However, to me, it's very subtle, very hard to catch. And Chuck said, and I so totally agree, that it seems subtle and hard to catch because I'm not used to listening in that way. And as I get better and better at using this as my active languaging, that it will be much easier, and I will be able to see the difference, to see that it's not subtle at all. And it truly is not. The difference between stating it as a fact, I was ignored, and my mind was telling me that I was ignored, is huge. Because, of course,
yes.
When I say my mind was telling me, then I'm taking full responsibility rather than blaming that person who ignored me. So, anyway, I just wanted to report that, and your introduction was terrific. I think I've said that before. I'm going to say it again. It was really, really pertinent. So that's all I wanted to do.
I'll have to go back and listen to it again.
Pardon me?
I say I'll have to go back and you'll listen to it again. It was that good.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I missed it too.
Well, it was that good to me, at least, because I was experiencing it. I was experiencing not only hearing the words, but understanding the words in a different way than I ever have before. So,
right.
Having gone through the 2-hour experience, I think prepared me for understanding at a deeper level. So, I think you do listen to it again and see what you think. But anyway, I'm looking forward to that session. Go ahead. What?
I say building brain cells.
Indeed. Yes.
That's the whole thing.
Indeed.
If I don't have the brain cells for it, I literally can't hear it. And that, when 2,000 years ago, when Yeshua says you've got to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, that in essence what he was saying. In fact, if you read it, he talks about how those who having eyes do not see, those who having ears do not hear. And so, he obviously isn't talking about having physical eyes and ears. He's talking about building the brain cells. And to me, the exciting part of that session that you were so courageous to do was it opened the space for people to build brain cells. And I'm looking forward to this next level because it's such a profound piece of the work. And
well, thank you. And thank you for that opportunity to be coached, in real time. That was pretty amazing. I must say that, well, I will share this with the group when we get to that on the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say also right now that it was a very difficult 2 hours. And I'm surprised that looking back now, I'm surprised that I didn't fold in the middle and say, oh my God, everything I'm doing is wrong, you know? So it was terrific, and it was very tiring because, of course, my
something
brain
outside of you was tiring. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have
right.
to look into that and see if that's probably even possible. I didn't know that, but new piece of learning for me.
Okay, I was. My reaction to your comments and corrections and suggestions was my own tiredness.
You were definitely in process, and that takes a lot of energy.
Yeah,
Sure.
I could not. I really couldn't understand most of what you were saying. As I was really concentrating on processing some of the things that you said. Does that make sense? I'm going, oh, man. I'm just squeaking by, kind of getting it to make sense. So it was being in the middle of it that I was finding difficult. And it was great anyhow. And I don't know what else. I wanted to say something else. Well, okay, the other big biggie that I learned in doing this process, and any process with communication with another person, whether it's a formal responsibility communication as we have set up or just a communication, is, of course, using the I and the you. And, man, that's something I had heard 50 years ago. And, take responsibilities, come with I statements. I never really understood it until going through this process.
And so you had brain cells.
Yeah, I know. So
yeah.
I'm glad I'm having the brain cells, and I thank you and Jeannie and everybody else for supporting me in that. Yeah.
Well, I don't remember specifically whether I got into this part of the conversation, but what occurs to me to offer right now, for everyone who's listening, is that what we haven't been taught is that our words tell our minds how to structure the world that we see. Mm-hmm. And when I live in that state of denial, you made me mad, my mind has to generate a world where I get to see you making me mad. Now, of course, I've been through that mad 87 different times with 42 different people, but here I am believing that you are the root of the problem that I'm experiencing. And once I wake up to, oh, this is an inside job, then everything changes. So, and when I utilize, in a natural way, when I utilize responsibility communication, I get to see more and more clearly that what I'm really wanting to describe is the output of my mind, not what happened in the world. And when I really recognize that, everything shifts.
Mm-hmm. And I'm remembering what you said about my thoughts, the thoughts that I produced, which really my thoughts let me see. I thought they were my thoughts about the issue. And it was my thoughts about what happened. However, it was not my thoughts about my issue, my reaction to what happened. And that's right. That was huge to get that's where I want to be. And I have to laugh right now because as I reread and listened to all of my lofty, and I mean that sincerely, my lofty ideas about how I know this is my issue and you just triggered me and blah, 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 all of that. I mean, that was a lot of paragraphs. And so even though I knew that consciously, man, my unconscious, subconscious was really working. My mind was holding on to, yeah, but it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't done that. So I had not completely given up on that at all. Not even completely.
Right.
I mean, not at all. Yeah. So a lot of learning here, and more to come.
Well, much appreciation for you sharing it.
Yeah. Thank you. So
Sweet.
I'm going to wish you what?
I said sweet.
I'm going to wish you both the most wonderful celebration of your fantastic relationship together, and knowing that you will have a beautiful weekend doing that.
It's in the plan.
Cool.
We have a big celebration planned for just the two of us.
Yeah, that's the best.
It is.
Wonderful.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Blessings.
You too. Blessings.
Appreciate you, young lady. All right. Take care. Bye.
You too, sweet.
Yeah, we're tempted to get my brothers to take over my dad for the weekend so we could actually have the weekend to ourselves, but that didn't work. So, but we're still going to.
It's Eternal Day this weekend.
Well, that's actually next week, Wednesday next week.
Yeah,
we'll celebrate this weekend.
Celebrate them together, yeah.
Right. So we have 14 minutes. We've got plenty of time to address any question or comment. 563-999-3581. Press 1.
So if you're out there in listener land, now's the time to press 1. Don't wait till the last minute.
We got a hand up.
Great. Let's say hello.
I believe it's Miss Celinda, area code 541. You're on the air.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hey, young lady, welcome. You're loud and clear. It's been a while since we've heard your sweet voice. How do you be? What's happening?
Well, I was in the Hermitage.
Say again, you were?
In the Hermitage.
Okay.
I was being a hermit because I was being told to be a hermit. So I did. That's not my usual pattern. But I have been, in my own way, exploring some of the same issues that Manda has just shared. And as I get more and more clarity, I have realized that I'm beginning, I guess, to build brain cells and realizing that I am here to be loved. Just realizing on a deeper level of myself. I've known it for a long time, at least since I've been involved with your work and Jeannie's work. But I've known it for a long time in one form of languaging or another that I'm here to be loved, but I just couldn't bridge the chasm. And I'm very grateful, as I heard Magda say, I'm very grateful for you and Jeannie, and I'm also very grateful for every spiritual perception that I have delved into or lightly perused, because they've all added to my brain cell development, I do believe, and allowed me to appreciate you and Jeannie even more.
Sweet. Awesome.
So I have not abandoned you. I am just being very still and learning, discerning, doing my best to listen for how to carve that space out for myself and for all of the beloveds in my life, and how to carve that space out so I can truly be the beloved that the Creator wants me to be, so that the Creator can also delight in relationship. And so I just appreciate you, appreciate this moment that I am in, even though it is very uncomfortable at times.
I understand that one. Been through many layers of that discomfort in arriving at this space in the work.
Yeah, and it percolates up again. I mean, we build a certain amount of brain cells, it seems, at least I do, and then there's more to come. But as I mentioned once before in the program, we do have to go through the potato patch, the discomfort, the shifting ground, without running away. Without running away into some sort of addiction, without running away into the past or the future, without running away from ourselves, without puffing up in arrogance and self-righteousness or deflating ourselves into a flat little two-dimensional squished balloon. It's a process of being willing to just sit. To just sit and feel the pain, feel the discomfort, and know there's more to come, and it's not going to be fun. Just being willing to build the internal discipline to say, okay, I've sat through this. I'm surely when it is time, because everything has to be ripe and timely, right? We don't give birth before we're ready to give birth. And so all of those parts of myself that have been at such odds with each other, it's the members of the board. Am I willing to sit with them and allow each one to have a voice? Because unless I'm willing to do that, Michael and Jeannie, I cannot do that in my outer community if I cannot do it for myself with good grace and compassion. And being willing to stand on the truth that as I understand it in this moment of time without concretizing it into 10 commandments or some sort of law that is linked to punishment if I don't do it. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Cool.
And, you know, it's when we first hear an idea that we go, oh, that makes sense. Yes, that must be true. But just hearing it isn't the thing itself. And it takes building the brain cells to move out of the hollowness. That's what I kind of hear you describing is, yes, well, I've known this for a long time, but it was kind of hollow and empty. And as you build the brain cells, it's like, oh, this is so magnificent. This is so huge. But without the brain cells, it's just words.
And I like to think of the brain cells in every single cell of my body, not just in my head. So,
every cell stores information. That's exactly what happens.
Right. And it's like, remember the old coffee pots, the little percolating coffee pots? That's how I see it. I mean, the coffee grounds go on the top, that's the head, and they got to be percolated through, and then they get down to the water, which I would, it's just a silly metaphor, but that's all my body cells, and it's the breath that runs that whole thing.
That's it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I'm working with my breath.
Cool. And every cell in the so-called body is a brain cell. Stores information. It's throughout and when you realize that when you put, we were talking about energies being off the mark in the beginning of the show, sin, that when I put an energy into tissue somewhere, I don't care if it's a big toe, the kneecap, the heart, the liver, the lung, there's going to be disorder and dis-ease in that tissue until I forgive what doesn't belong.
Right. And now I'm beginning to get a bigger grasp on why I have cataracts. And so it's a process. And somehow, and I don't know the process. Michael, I don't know the order. I have to be willing to listen.
A very important concept in the whole process is the ability to listen.
We're not taught to listen, Michael.
Oh, no, we're taught to defend and play that projection communication game. That's why the responsibility communication is such an important key. In fact, I think, Ginny, maybe we could put together an email to everybody in the intensive, from the last two intensives, and send out a link to the show or to the session that Magda was talking about. Invite everybody to review it and write down their questions so we get to some really in-depth work on Sunday.
Okay.
So the 6th.
That would
Cool.
be wonderful, and I would love it. I know we only have about 5 minutes left. I would love it to have the last sessions we have. We haven't had those yet because I don't get internet, so I'm relying on. I only get it on Fridays and Sundays, and that's it. So I'm relying that I'll find out about the final sessions when it's timely and right for them to appear, because I definitely want to be a part of that.
It's Sunday, June the 6th.
Page.
Yeah,
June the 6th. Is that a Sunday?
That's
by
when
chance?
Sunday, June the 6th, from 2 to 4. That's when Magda and Chuck are going to do the follow-up to the communication. And then the next Sunday, June the 13th, I think it is. Let's see.
That's the 13th.
13th, yeah, is the last class. And that one, before the 13th, you will get in the email the revised Power Person worksheet. And so that last class is to go over that one more time.
Okay, and can you hear me all right? Because there seems to be some interference.
Yep, can hear you fine.
You're loud and clear.
So that's 2 to 4 Eastern time now?
Always,
correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, everything
and
we do is always expressed in Eastern time.
Beautiful. And the last thing I wanted to ask you, both of you, is it possible to put the last session on Vimeo and send it out as an email to everybody? Also, Vimeo works much better for me, and I've kept all of your previous emails about the Vimeo links.
I don't have it on Vimeo yet. It's on Facebook.
Oh, pardon me. Okay.
But are you thinking of putting it on Vimeo at some time?
Eventually, but not before the 6th. I've got too much else on my plate right now, but if you want to watch it again before the 6th, you'll have to pick it up on Facebook.
Okay, perfect. But everything, the last session we have will also be sent to us as an email on Vimeo after the fact. That's the question I'm asking.
Yes, eventually I will have the whole 15 weeks that we've done on Vimeo.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's just that I get lost in Facebook. It's very, very disturbing for my brain. So
something outside of you disturbs your brain?
Right. Oh, sorry
really?
about
I didn't know that was possible. I'll have to look into that and see if that's possible.
A good catch, Michael. Okay, I love it. I love both of you. And on that sweet note, the 6th and the 13th from 2 to 4 Eastern Time, I shall be on the phone. I will definitely be watching. All right.
All right, young lady. Blessings. Okay,
bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So it looks like we're down to about 3 minutes. And I'll just review once again that you can go to your app store and type in the words Heartland, Heartland, one word, Aramaic, Aramaic, forgiveness. And in your app store, that will take you to the world's only forgiveness app. Thank you, Jeannie, for all the mountains of work you put into creating that. If you're interested in the 48-day Course in Miracles, back 35 to 40 years ago, I taught a Course in Miracles in South Florida And 48 of the most popular lectures we put on CD or on tape way back then, and we've just had them all converted. They're primarily Course in Miracles lectures, although there are a couple of other complementary topics in the set as well. And so they're available if you go to whyagain.org. In the upper right-hand corner of the site, you'll see a link that says MP4s, and you can look at those titles. And if you want to purchase those, they're available. In the meantime, we'll just invite everybody to have the best year yet of your eternal life. Know that it's an awesome gift to give the world. You can give it. The world needs it, and it's time. Blessings. Bye-bye.